Are we about ready? We are ready. Wonderful. Councilman, would you like to join us? Welcome, everyone, to the 2023 year. It has been a fun 2022, and we welcome everyone here on this January 3rd of 2023. We are located at 47 South Main Street in Tooele. We're on the 3rd floor in the county building in Suite 306. It's 5:30, and we're going to begin. We have from the county attorney's office, our county attorney newly sworn in, Scott Broadhead, for another 4 years. So you got to deal with us, Scott, for a little bit. Wonderful.
He gets to deal, he gets to deal with us, that's right.
That's right. And Councilman Thomas, welcome.
Pleasure.
Thank you for being here. Councilman Thomas was also sworn in today, so we have Councilman Thomas representing the south area of Tooele County. Thank you for being here, and thank you for wanting to serve again. We are excusing Councilman Wardle. He's in his travels home, though it was a little bit disappointing where he was at because the score didn't end up the way we wanted it to for the Rose Bowl, but he's on his way home, and he may join us by Zoom. Okay. Councilman Hoffman, thank you for being here. Councilman Hamner is also here, and new Councilman Eric Stromberg, thank you for being here. And Mr. Stromberg will be covering the west side, Tooele County. Anything you want to say?
Just excited for the opportunity. I'm working with everyone and representing the citizens of Grantsville and Windover.
Wonderful.
Be a fun 4 years.
Council's going to assign a bunch of committees to you.
Okay, maybe not a fun 4 years.
We have our county manager, Andy Welch, thank you. He's stuck with us, so there's no election. And our assistant county manager, Brittany, thank you for being here. Brittany Lopez. And Nikki, thank you from the clerk's office, and each of you.
I'm happy to be stuck with you.
Oh, thank you. We will begin with our resolution and ordinances. That will bring up Colin Winchester, authorizing the council chair to sign interlocal cooperative agreement.
This is ordinance. How about now? Okay, I'll use this one. This is resolution 2023-01. It authorizes the county council chair to sign an expected, anticipated, and proposed interlocal agreement with New Lake Point. You'll see on item 4A on your work meeting that you'll be talking about that contract in a few moments. So what we'll do is talk about it tonight. We have some of the Lake Point council members here as well. And both of those items will come back to you at your next meeting 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay. And I failed to mention, we're in our work meeting agenda here, so this is an opportunity that the council interacts with subjects that are on here, and along with Colin and others, and we'll ask questions, but there will be no vote taken in this meeting until we have our business meeting. So, council, is there any questions? It sounds like we're going to hear from this again.
Can you hear me, Colin?
Oh.
Basically, I was looking at 6 and 10 on this, and maybe it's already in here, but if I didn't see it. Do we need verbiage in there about time frame for cancellation or changes of it in those areas or not? Like where it says contracts and modifications, things like that. If they want to get out of it in 60 days or change things, or is that overridden somewhere else?
No, it's already in there in various places. It's under number 2, solid waste services, 30 days written notice. Roads, which is paragraph 3, has a 30 days written notice. 4, land use inspections and approvals has a 30 days written notice.
So we're covered, we're good.
Yeah, we just put them in individual paragraphs.
Okay, that was it for me.
Okay, is this an item that we want to push to our business meeting today?
Nope, what you'll wanna do is talk about it under contracts as you look at the contract and some of the terms, and I would suggest and encourage you to invite some of the two representatives from Lake Point if you have any questions about why they're proposing some of the changes that they're proposing. Also, you should have received a memo from me that says basically, I'm okay with most of their changes, but we have Rochelle and Jed and Wayne here and the sheriff to address some of their proposals. And then we'll hopefully get a final draft ready for your next meeting 2 weeks from tonight.
Oh, there was one other thing, maybe this more Rochelle, but this list of properties that we got, these are the things that are currently in process?
That would be a
Rochelle's
Rochelle
department?
question.
That's what I thought. These are the things you're working on, Rochelle, I assume? There's a bunch of them here.
Yes, council, those are the permits that we currently have. As you'll see, most of them have already been issued, and so we will just be completing the inspections through C of O. There are a few that have not been issued yet that we'll continue to process. One item that I had concern about in there is they've asked that we not take any permits past their moratorium. We were the permitting jurisdiction up till December 21st. We had to accept permits up till December 21st. And we did get a solar permit come in and a basement remodel.
So what problems could that cause since that moratorium went into place on December 7th, right?
You did not place a moratorium and you were the permitting body. So you would have had to have placed a moratorium in order for us to deny those permits.
And we did not.
So that's something we need to work out with Lake Point.
Okay,
We hope to work that out in the next 2 weeks.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
That was it for me.
That will bring us down to amending the membership requirements for the county fair board. Colin?
This is ordinance number 2023-01. The proposal is to remove the county council member of the fair board and replace that person with either the county manager or the assistant county manager. This one is on your work meeting tonight and your business meeting because you'll be addressing board appointments tonight. So if you approve this change, you'll approve it in your business meeting tonight, and then you can address the vacancies when you discuss boards and committees.
Well, I had an issue with this too. Can I address it, or why are we doing this? Anybody? This is the first I heard about it was today when I was reading through the agenda and stuff. Why are we taking the council member off?
Is this at a recommendation of the council?
This is,
Yes,
Council
the
member?
council asked that the manager who's here on a regular basis, that would be able to address that.
Okay, and that's fine. I was just thinking maybe we may still wanna leave the verbiage in there, not necessarily take council member off, leave that in case there is some council member 20 or 30 years from now that is, very passionate about the fair and wants to be on it. Maybe we leave it so that a council member can still be on it.
Well, I think there's always an opportunity, if you want to be involved, you can still volunteer to be there.
Sure.
I'm just thinking, why scratch it? Why just not add an or in between, council member or the county manager or the assistant county manager?
we could certainly do that way.
So that a council member can still be on it if they ever choose to down the road. Doesn't necessarily have to be with this council.
Can you check your number? Is that 2023-01 or 02? Because the other one was 01.
That was
Okay, the first one was a resolution, this is an ordinance, so they're both 01.
Okay, gotcha.
And yes, we certainly could do that, Mr. Hoffman, we could say,
I was
one of
hoping
whom
Wardell
shall
was
be
gonna
a
able to
council
answer this
member or the
question, because
county
I figured
manager
this was
or the
his issue.
assistant county manager. It would accomplish the same thing and leave the option open for a council member in the future to serve if he or she wanted to.
I know in the past when there was commissioners, all three commissioners was a member of that committee. And it was cumbersome and awkward at times.
Yeah. So I think, so boiling it down, it's semantics. Maybe keep the language in there in case there is a council member. But I think the direction that we're going right now is to have a county management as a member of that board, to have executive order to be able to address that.
Well, I knew this was Scott's board, but I was hoping he would be here to answer my question, but he's
I
not,
think
so.
it's like the tourism board where it takes a lot of time, and so maybe, and,
So he wants to shirk some of his duties.
well,
Okay.
and also, Also, Desert Peak is something that we've.
Let's leave it in there and we'll appoint him onto the fair board tonight.
All right,
So,
so if we're
with,
gonna change it,
since there's no, vote, I don't know if would it cause any problems to keep that language? Does it cause ambiguity?
it does not. So if we are going to change it as proposed in the business meeting, Mr. Hoffman, if you could make a motion to change, to say the way you want it to say, and then the council can vote on that,
Okay.
a motion to amend.
You know, I think if we're gonna do that, then we need to, as we talk about committee assignments, somebody's gotta be assigned to that board.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Not if we keep the verbiage to where it could be a council member or.
Then
somebody-
don't, then I say, let's clean it up. To me, it cloudy it. It makes it cloudy.
Why?
Clean it up and make it, either you're gonna be on the board or you're not gonna be on the board. Plain and simple, I don't think we should say either or. Make your gosh dang mind up and move forward with it. You're on or you're off.
Well, the council can be off. It just leaves the option for, so if a council member wants to be on it down the road, then they don't have to create a new, resolution or ordinance to do it. What?
You guys make the board appointments, you can appoint either
Right.
a council member or.
It just down the road, if a council member wants to be on it, then they're gonna have to create a whole new ordinance to be on it, correct?
If we change it, yes.
I
Which
think,
just
I think
seems
we
foolish
can,
to me.
if I want to be on that board, I can volunteer to be on that board, and I'm sure that committee would be
Not
glad.
not if the verbiage says you can't be.
It doesn't say yet, it just said it's
How
not
many,
gonna.
how many spots are on the board?
5 to 7,
So if we're already sitting at 7 without a council member,
then there would be no
there
room.
would be there wouldn't be a spot.
But if you have 6, you could appoint a council member, and also somebody from the county manager's office.
But I think that's the thing, if we change the wording, then if we're full, but if someone said, hey, I really want to, I'm passionate about the fair, that someone that's sitting up here, they can go to the county manager and say, let's swap. And we could make that change.
Yep.
We won't argue.
Okay,
Okay, let's go to a business meeting, but.
yep. And then vote it down or vote it up. That brings us down to Bucky, adopting additional links to the International Fire Code.
Yes, good evening, council. Yep, we are requesting to include some additional appendices in the county code for adoption. Those are specifically appendices F and H. You may wonder why those. There's actually 2 accompanying E and G in there as well, but these are all components of the International Fire Code as it relates to hazardous materials management plans. Emergency Services has seen an increase in the number of hazmat providers in the county, and by enacting these, including these into the county code, it allows us more ability to work with those entities to require site practices, inventory statements, and those kinds of things, which in turn will improve the fire response and the fire services program. I don't know if you have additional questions beyond this, and then one other side of the the ordinance is just to make sure that in the future we do not have to come back and make these kind of updates again. That the most recent code as is stipulated by the state and adopted by the county will be the code that is in effect. So it helps us out in that regard as well.
And this one is scheduled to come back to you 2 weeks from tonight in your business meeting, if you move forward.
Okay. Any questions, council?
Any detail, additional detail, or Andy?
Just a question, I guess the state has mandated codes that we enforce, and there are those that we can enforce locally, is that what we're looking
Correct.
at today? Or these
Yeah,
are some of
so
the,
right now, the state statute is that we will enforce the 2018 version of the International Fire Code. We, in the past, had formally adopted the International Fire Code with appendices B, C, and D. At that time, it wasn't identified that F and H were going to be helpful or needed for us to have adopted it for our use or for the county's use. And so this is identifying that and requesting to adopt those additional appendices. In the future, as the codes change, that will allow us to go ahead and adopt the most recent version of that the state typically will identify it as the code that we're going to be enforcing, and will prevent us from having to revisit this again, so.
So when you say we're gonna be enforcing it, who's we? The
The
county?
county fire marshals, county
Okay.
fire services program, and our administrative oversight. So if we go out and do an inspection of a facility, this provides the framework for us to go out and do those inspections and to enforce those particular sides of the code to make sure everybody is adhering and
Okay,
to
because when,
industry
yeah, when it
standards.
said the International Code Council, I'm thinking, who are these people? Are they, you know,
They are
if we, if we put this into place, are the boys in the blue helmets gonna come and start enforcing it, or?
These are your, as it says, international authorities on what building and codes, standards should be, that we should be enforcing out in our environment, so.
Yeah, and the state doesn't update these as often as they come out. They come out every, I'm not sure, Rochelle, every few years, and they'll.
Every 3 years.
3
So
years
as an
for it.
example, in July, the state is set to adopt the 2021 version of the IFC codes. And so with us enacting this via the ordinance that we're proposing is gonna allow that just to seamlessly happen, and then we can start holding the different standard.
And in our verbiage for this, is it gonna mention this International Code Council anywhere in our version? Cause I really don't want that in there if it doesn't
not
have to
in
be. Okay,
They're just the people that draft the,
no, I understand.
Yeah,
I looked
they
into who
draft the
these
code.
people were and like, what the heck is this? And,
Yeah.
it's not in
Okay.
our ordinance.
all right, good.
And are we looking at the other fire departments as well adopting something similar to this? So
Correct,
we're all on
yeah.
the same board? Is
Yeah,
that what
thank you
this-
for reminding me. So, all of the municipal, jurisdictions have adopted this already or will be adopting it, going forward as well to create the continuity, amongst all of the industry, of the fire services industry, so.
Thank you, Bucky.
Yep.
Any other questions, Council? Okay. Bring us over to contracts. Interlocal agreement, Lake Point, Colin.
So now you get to the, gotta go to the working microphone, sorry. It's just so difficult for me to move to the right. My natural inclination is to stay to the left as much as possible.
I feel your pain.
I know you do, Kendall, I know you do. This is the contract portion of Resolution 2023-01. This is the actual proposed interlocal agreement between the county and Lake Point. And we sent them a copy, or we sent them a proposal. They met, they talked about it, they sent us back the proposal. So if you're looking at the one with the blue lines, the blue text and blue lines are their proposed changes. And then you should have from me a little one-page memo that says, I reviewed those in a hurry when I got them last week. Perhaps Wayne will be able to address some of the solid waste concerns. Jed might be able to address the roads concerns. Rochelle's already addressed some of the land use approvals and so forth. And then the sheriff could talk about law enforcement. I generally have no problem with the proposals. It makes for a more tight agreement. More detail is never a bad thing, especially when you're a lawyer and you're getting paid by the word. But there are a couple of things that we should talk about, and that it'd be the solid waste, whether we cut it off in 2023, in December of 2023, or extend it through 2027, which is when our agreement with Republic runs out. And so that's the issue there. On the roads, the issue is the Class B and C road funds. You'll recall that we have Class B roads in the county level. When a city is created, those roads become Class C city roads. And what we're informed last year as we went through this process with ERDA was that the cities actually get a little bit more money for their Class C roads than the county gets for its Class B roads. So there's more money available. I didn't explain this to Lake Point when I sent it to them, but I just had a conversation with Kathleen. On the ERDA roads, what we said is you go get your Class C money and you give your Class C money to us and we'll maintain your roads during the contract period. We'll just call it straight across swap. We didn't charge ERDA the 10% administrative fee or the 2.5% out of service, out of area fee, because we figured that 12% was roughly equivalent to what we're talking, the difference between Class B roads and Class C roads. We don't have those numbers here with Lake Point yet, but we should be able to come up with them at some point. So that's the question on Lake Point is, do we just get the amount we would have received for Class B? And if so, do you want to charge them administrative fees on top of that? Or do we say, no, we want all of the money that you're gonna get, which would be your Class C money, and we won't charge you the administrative fees? And you may decide not to charge administrative fees anyway, that's entirely up to you. So those are the kinds of issues that you need to address. There are now, I think, 3 or 4 Lake Point council members behind me. There were 2 when we started, but I noticed Jonathan came in, and Rochelle and the sheriff and Jed and Wayne are also here.
So has Wayne reviewed this contract,
I
the
hope
changes?
they all have,
They all have?
I hope.
Did you have any concerns with it, Wayne?
One of the concerns I have is if they do only do it for the year till, and terminates in 2023, December 31st, is it will impact our contract with Republic Services. Because when they bid that, the Lake Point rooftops were part of that service area. So, you know, with the economies of scale, ours will actually reduce if they're, do their own contract and pull out of there. So it might have a negative impact on what Republic is going to charge us per that contract. And
So would it be better, Wayne, to go have them stay in the contract, the trash hauling and removal to the end till, is it 20, what was the termination?
it's 2027, I forget the date exactly, but it's in 2027 when our contract is up with Republic Services. For us, we would encourage that, but I mean, you know, they're their own city and they're gonna do what they feel is best for them. So we'll make adjustments as needed to get through it, but it would be nice to stay through the 2027 year.
I mean, maybe this isn't the appropriate time, but has Lake Point responded to that, to your suggestion to stay till the end of the contract?
No, they've been in contact with Colin on that. He might be able to answer that question.
I think they're here tonight to respond to those kinds of issues.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had similar discussions when we were doing this contract with ERDA as well with our provider, and they said the same thing is, you know, when they did the contract, it included all of ERDA, and so if we change the scope of that, that their costs will go up probably because they don't have the economies of scale, and ours will go up as well since we've lost ERDA, and so they've let us know that that may go up. We're not sure what that is. We haven't heard anything, but that was what we heard when we talked to them a year ago, and then most recently, back in December, we had some discussions with.
Yeah, Reese had contacted me from Republic Services and conveyed that to me. We haven't got into the contract to see what that will allow them to do. Have you had a chance, Colin, yet?
No, go right. So Tom Tripp and I are the 2 that actually negotiated the current contract with Republic, and we negotiated it through, I think, June 30th of 2027. I have not yet taken the opportunity over the last couple of days to look at the contract and see if there's a significant change in the number of cans. Can Republic back out? Can they ask for more money, et cetera? But I will have that answer within the next few days. So there is a question. I'm sure there's a provision in there that says either party can terminate on so many months' notice. So if Lake Point takes all of its customers and goes elsewhere, Republic comes to us and say, now we don't have the numbers that we need to make this work, we need to adjust the numbers, and we say, sorry, stick the numbers where the sun doesn't shine. If there's a provision in there, they could just terminate the contract and we'd have to rebid it anyway. So we're sort of working through this and just trying to say, if we can stay with 2027, great. If not, we'll do what we have to do to deal with Republic.
Okay.
Does this have to be voted on tonight's meeting, or in our work
It is
meeting?
on the business.
It's
meeting.
on the
Business
business meeting.
No, it's
It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks from.
No, it's
So
on
we-
the business meeting too, right? Tonight? I thought I saw
I
the
thought it was on
interlocal agreement contract on this schedule tonight.
So my thought process,
Here.
my thought process is to bring this back in
It
2
is, right
weeks.
there.
Let's get together and work out the details, because we want to hear about roads, we want to hear about the trash hauling, that kind of
This is the
details.
business meeting.
Yep.
And I'm happy to, you know, to provide whatever they need, you know, to help them kind of work through that to see what the potential would be, you know, as far as cost to them, you know, was what they might be giving up with our services as well, so.
Okay.
And I would like to see the contracts be as close to HERDA's as possible.
Well, yeah,
for
we're not gonna
consistency
change.
purposes,
Yeah.
personally, but it just makes it easier for everybody here at the county.
Any other questions,
Yep,
council?
roads. I'd like to hear from Jed and his thoughts on it.
Yeah, do you want to discuss the other services? Roads being
Pertaining to this.
pertaining to this.
I know you guys have been talking about looking at this from an overall policy standpoint, but from what I reviewed and the discussions that I've had with Lake Point and Colin, I feel comfortable with repeating what we're doing for ERDA with Lake Point. But if we deviate from that, that's a policy decision. But if they're gonna, we can either keep them where we're collecting the road money or separate it out and then they forward those payments to us within 30 days. I'm fine either way with that. I think there's some numbers that would need to be ran if we're going to separate the B to C and then charge the 10 or 15% in addition. We'd have to look at it that way, but what we're doing with ERDA, that same process I think would work here just fine.
Could I ask one question, Jed? So the list of services that they had outlined, ERDA was kind of generic language that we had. We continue to provide the current service level. Theirs was more spelled out. Are those all of the things that we were doing anyway?
I haven't had a chance to go through those in detail, but
Okay.
I can
We can
go
review
into
those.
that deeper.
Okay. Sheriff, did you want to comment?
No.
Okay. We'll move on then.
About the only thing I had was a little bit of a concern, not necessarily, it's more county internal stuff with the contact being the manager's office. We'll be doing the invoicing, but then the check would be coming to the manager's office. And so then there'd be a due billing process of what line item would go into. And I would just assume my office be the contact for the law enforcement agreement so that we're invoicing it and receiving it so that we can keep track of it. It was just a clerical thing internally for our office is all I was concerned about.
Okay.
But we can also, I can just call Andy and say, hey, did they pay? If all else fails, I'm okay with that.
One other thing I should note about law enforcement is we don't yet have the dispatch numbers. The way we arrive at the dispatch numbers is we take a 3-year average of the calls. And so for every call that comes in, they have an X and a Y coordinate and they can drop those on a map. So we're in the process of getting those coordinates dropped on the map for the last 3 years so that Regina can come up with a dispatch number, which will plug into the contract, but we don't have that number yet.
Will that be the same contract or will it be a separate like we have with all the other municipalities?
Effective July 1st, it will be a separate contract,
Okay.
just like we do with all the other municipalities, but we'll include it in here for the first 6 months, just like we did with ERDA.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Council, you're okay to move on?
Anything else with Rochelle? I know you want to,
Does Lake Point have any comments? I would like to see if they have any comments or anything personally.
Mind if we both come up?
Sure.
Okay.
Ryan Zumwalt, Lake Point.
Kathleen Von
Okay.
Hatton, Lake Point.
Do you want to tell them?
I'm assuming you guys did not notice this up as a public meeting for yourselves, correct?
Yes. We did notice it.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we did. We
Oh,
posted it. Yes, we
fantastic.
did.
I was very
We're
concerned.
on top
We
of
always
it.
give notice. I was very concerned you guys were gonna have an open meetings act violation, and that's not a good way to start.
No,
Okay.
every time we come
All
here,
right,
we
then you
do.
guys can talk business then.
Yeah.
You guys can negotiate, you're all right.
No,
Okay.
absolutely. I think we'll start quickly from the top on Rochelle's concern. When we're elected under state code, we can enact ordinances under the state municipal elected officer powers act. So we enacted state ordinance for land use laws and the moratorium at that time under that authority. So that's where that came from, Colin, is we adopted state land use code under chapter 9A and also other codes under chapter 9A to have something in our city, and then enacted the moratorium under that code.
Ryan, would you speak right in?
Yes, but to alleviate the concerns and problems that there were with, we actually, on the attachment, have included the two that filed after our moratorium because we wanted to not have any issues for the county or us. So we've listed them on that list despite them filing after the moratorium. And as we get further along, more people to contact us from zoning planning, we see a need to add other things, and we hope to get that going down the future after this contract. One is Starbucks. They've got their site underway, but then they have a sign that they need to get going for it. And it's all better to tie it to that project with the county for us. So that's what we're hoping to do in the future. On the roads, we have no concern with doing the C funds. We just wanted to make sure we're doing right by our citizens, that if there's more money, we're setting it aside for Lake Point. But since we've been explaining the administrative fee and all that, we have no concerns with that. We, as a council, knew that if there was another reason for it, we would do it as long as the money's going fully to Lake Point. For Jed, the list of services came from the original feasibility study. When he submitted a letter in that feasibility study, he outlined the services that would be provided for the same dollar cost. So that list is taken from that letter submitted to the feasibility study. What else have we got?
On the 2023.
2023, go ahead.
Yeah. On the 2023, when we met with Andy and the councilman, we talked about the contract with Waste and how we know fully well that yours goes to 2027. To keep it consistent with the other two services, we decided to go with 2023 for 1 year. We may stay with you, but we do feel it is very much in our citizens' best interest that we do look and get proposals from other, knowing fully well that this may be the best option for them. But we do feel like that needs to be something that we look at for our citizens. So that's the reason we put the 2023 in there for the waste. It does have the 30-day out, so if you feel that, if you feel like you need to put the 2027, as long as the 30-day out stays in there, then you could do that as well. We just don't know until we get those options.
Wayne's coming behind you.
I do have another comment about the December 31st. It would be nice to know sooner because it's going to impact our budget. And so as we go through that budget process, you know, our budget will be adopted by then, you know, so we're gonna kind of have to know what's gonna take place so we can calculate that next year so it's not as big an impact to us if you do decide to get out.
Okay. Like, what would you?
Would that just be a 90-day?
Yeah,
So-
90
something
days
like
would be
that?
nice because of the process we go through with the budget. It really would if you could, you know, let us know what your intentions are, you know. And
If we knew by October 1st, then it'll at least allow us to make other plans if you're planning on doing something different.
In reality, I don't see us ever saying 30 days we're gone, you know, but we would like that in the provision. But yes, I could see us, even if we did maybe a 60-day.
And there's no problem with that 30-day provision. It's just, we would like to know next year by then what your intentions are so we can go through the budget because we have to have that set in stone before then.
Understand. Fair. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Point? Thank you for being here. Anything else you guys wanted to bring up?
Do you want to give us more money? No, just teasing. I'm teasing.
Raise your taxes.
Thank you.
Do you have an idea when that information will be coming?
Doyle, would you mind coming up to the mic since this is a,
So Doyle's question is, when will we get the dispatch numbers? I think we'll have some preliminary numbers within the next 48 hours.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're working off not the approved version of the map because we don't have that yet, but we're working off the next most current version of the map, and we do have the coordinates, so they're in the process of dropping those in. So I think we'll get at a number that's close enough and that we can use in this contract, certainly before the end of the week.
That's kind of a wild card for us, so that'll help.
That's where we make up all the money for the other stuff.
okay. That will bring us down to the grinder. Jed, did you want to talk about I know that we've talked about this in our previous budget, but yes, this is the time when we'll talk and ask questions here, and then I believe it's in our business meeting to vote up or down.
Could I just jump in just quickly? As we approved the budget, we approved a lot of money for equipment. And because of supply chain issues, we asked Jed, as soon as the budget was approved, to start working on the list of equipment so that we can get those as soon as we can, just because it may take 6 months, a year on some of these things. So Jed has done a great job in putting together that list, and this is what he'll be presenting the next number of items.
Yes. In these items, there's, that I'm bringing for you tonight, councils, basically the equipment that was listed on the budget documents that were approved, and there's just various things with the purchasing of them that I wanted to discuss with you tonight and try and get those approvals to move forward, as this equipment is ready to purchase now, but with supply chain and supply and demand, if on some of them, if we're not ready to purchase now, then it won't be available until the end of the year in some cases, but I'll go through them.
Briefly, yeah, go
Briefly.
ahead.
The first one, the cat grader, we budgeted $280,000 for it. The purchase price came in at $280,396, which is less than $400 over budget. We got quotes from 2 state contractors that sell the Cat and John Deere graders, which are the 2 types of graders that we currently service. This grader is purchasing to surplus one of our existing 1995 graders that didn't sell at auction in the recent surplus process. And the purchase price is $317,896, but we're trading in the 1995 grader at $37,500, which puts the purchase price down to the $280,396. John Deere came in at $386,500, which is quite a bit more. So it's quite a bit less to go with the Cat in this purchase. The next one you have on your list, item C, is the linear crusher. This is a new service that we're in need of for our gravel roads. Basically what has been done in the past is we've rented a crusher for a couple weeks or a month at $40,000 to rent, and then taken existing material or a pit, crush that, haul it to the road, dump it. This is an attachment that you can do all in one motion and basically grades the road as it goes. The return on investment with this piece of equipment is less than a year. And how I come about that is our goal is to do 20 miles of gravel road a year with this piece of equipment. But running the numbers on just 10 miles of road, if we were to rent the crusher and crush material at our free use permit, which is not costing us anything, but the rental and the hauling, that would come out to $492,890 to do 10 miles of road. If we were to purchase the material at just $6 a ton, that would come out to $597,210 to do 10 miles of road. The purchase of this equipment is $507,500. So the return's very quick, and even at half of our goal, we should be able to get that back quickly.
Okay.
Is there any other questions with this? The other thing with this,
Jed, would you hold on? Oh, go ahead. And council, you have a sheet on it too, on the crusher. Go ahead, and you're gonna talk about the loader.
one thing I wanted to mention before I move on is this is a sole source, the linear crusher. I did put it out to bid, and we'll get those results back tomorrow, but there's no bids that have came in, and everybody, all the industry people in Utah that we've talked to that deal with crushing and this type of equipment, they don't have them, don't sell them, don't know anybody that does. It's just this one company that holds the patent on this, and where we came from, where we learned about it was through the U.S. Forest Service. They've purchased them, and we've called multiple people in other states that have used them, and they're a great piece of equipment.
When would you anticipate getting this particular piece of equipment?
This piece of equipment, they built one for the U.S. Forest Service that is available now, but there's 4 other people wanting to purchase it. If we can get approval to move forward with this purchase, I can purchase that piece of equipment. If not, then it's about 9 to 12 months to get one built.
That would put us past the summer months when it's most effective, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Next
And
on
you
your.
really think the break even on this is less than a year, huh? For the
According to the
return on
number, yes,
investment, huh?
we plugged the numbers, and I have all the numbers with me. We plugged them into iWorks, and,
Good.
yep. I was pretty surprised at that, too. So the next one on the list is the loader, and the reason for this purchase is, one, we're surplusing a 1985 loader that we currently own. But the loaders that we currently have aren't large enough to run the linear crusher. So we're gonna surplus one of the existing loaders that's a 1985. We have a value of about 30,000 on it. And we got 2 quotes from state contract vendors for the loader purchase. Cat loader is $252,000, and a John Deere loader is $264,000, which we want, and I'm requesting to go with the John Deere. It is $8,000 more than the Cat, but we have 3 existing attachments that connect to the John Deere and would not connect to the Cat. So, and we value those 3 existing attachments at about $40,000, so it wouldn't be cheaper to go with the Cat and replace those. It'll just work better within our operation to do that.
Okay. Any questions, council? In fact, council, if you have any questions, please speak up and Chair will recognize you.
The next one on your list is the mini excavator. This is budgeted amount was $120,500, and purchase price was $102,428 with a Hopack attachment as an additional $14,125, making it a total at $116,000, which is $3,947 under budget. We got 3 quotes for this one, 2 quotes that are state contract. John Deere was $128,000, Cat was $146,873, and we solicited the 3rd quote from Rasmussen Equipment for a link belt, and that was $116,553 total. Our large excavator that we currently have in our fleet is a link belt, and our mechanics are familiar with working on it, and we currently stock products for it. So in this case, it'd be consistent with what the equipment we currently service to go with the link belt.
Okay.
Would be fine.
What's the purpose of this piece of equipment?
Cleaning cattle guards, and it's more versatile than the backhoe in those types of tight situations. Plus, when we go clean cattle guards with the backhoe, you have to pull it with a 10-wheeler. This, we can put on a trailer and pull it behind one of the F-450s, and 2 guys can go with this, clean out the cattle guard, put it on the trailer, and move on, versus a 10-wheeler with a transport trailer or tobacco, and then another guy in a pickup truck. It's a more efficient operation for those types of things, and other culvert repairs in tight areas. The mini excavator is very versatile for that. And the final one you have on here, item F, is for the 2 snowplow trucks. So original budget amount total was $577,700. The purchase price that we're asking for today is $547,861, which puts us under budget by $29,839. Procurement process on this, we got 3 quotes. One was a request for a Western Star, which Western Star's all sold out for 23. They're not taking any more orders. And we got another one from state contract vendor, which was Freightliner, and they were $124,649 for the chassis. We got a quote from Mack, which was $116,730 for the chassis. And then the snowplow package is state contract with Owen. That's the snowplow, the control system, the hydraulics, and the stainless steel sanders, combining a total of $547,000 for both trucks with wings. And our surplus on,
So this thing will be able to fly with those wings?
absolutely, like a dragon.
Okay.
It gives us more width and decreases the amount of trips, the gas, the man hours, plowing in tandem where you have a truck in front and a truck in back. This kind of gives you that with one truck and one operator. The surplus on both the 2003 10-wheeler and a 2002 bobtail combined estimated value is $32,000. Will go back into the fund balance. Oh,
Okay.
and it was under budget, 29,839, so.
Any questions? Council? Nope?
Yep.
Yep. Chair recognizes
Okay,
Councilman
Allison,
Thomas.
go ahead.
Council, I want to clarify why Jed is up here tonight. So typically, any purchase above $100,000 requires a sealed bid process. And because this is equipment, we're asking you to waive the bid or waive our purchasing policy. You can see here that Jed has done some extensive research and has provided you with multiple bids on the process. We just haven't gone through the sealed bid process. And this is in an effort to, like he said, help avoid supply chain issues and also get things coming as quickly as possible. I've also asked Jed to bring these to you as a lump sum of all this equipment to you all at once so that we're not coming to you multiple meetings throughout the year. And he was able to gather all this information from you so that we can start these purchases now. And so in your next meeting, we'll be asking you to waive the purchasing policy. And then also, I think it would be a good idea if you authorized Andy to sign these contracts as they come in, since you've already heard from Wayne, sorry, I was looking at Kendall when I said that, sorry.
Wayne and I have a lot of resemblance.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry. But I think it would be wise to authorize Andy to sign these contracts when they come in, since they'll just be for standard equipment. And it doesn't mean that we won't put them on the consent agenda so that you still know when they come through, but just so that we can keep these purchases moving through. But I want you to know that these all do have special, Jed did check with state contracts and did make an effort and an attempt to contact at least 3 vendors where they were available. It's just not our typical sealed bid process that we would normally go through based on the dollar amount. So that's why he's here tonight, so.
Thank you, Allison. Would you still like to be recognized? Councilman Thomas.
I appreciate the explanation, and Jed, I appreciate being in front of this. But we also have this problem that goes to any of our, to the landfill, to the people that work out at facilities, at the Deseret Peak that are buying big equipment. We've already approved the dang budget once. We got a great safety net here. Allison's asking us to allow administration, Andy, to go ahead and do it, waive the policy that needs to be changed in my humble opinion. Let's get after it, get this cost savings that Jed has identified. Wayne could do the same thing, and so could Corey out to Deseret Peak. Thank you for doing it, but we need to make this happen because of the supply chains that Allison alluded to. Let's get out there, get these parts ordered. We've already got the budget approved. Let's go get it done. So Jed, thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council?
One other one.
I think Kendall wants to hold off on this.
Yeah. Jed shared some really good, I called Jed up and told him thanks for the great job he did today. And while he was on telling me, he told me some good news about Ivapod. Whether you talk about it, just quickly talk about that now or in the next meeting. But Jed, I think this is something really to be excited about. So would you maybe share that with us?
Yeah, so a week or 2 ago, Andy sent out an email to all of you guys, kind of giving you an update on the Ivapod reconstruction. There were three grants that I put applications in for. One was earmarked with Congressman Stewart for, I put that in for 7 million, but they passed 3.5 million. And I received the email confirmation today that it's passed through the budget process and the money's been confirmed. They're going to be working with UDOT. So that was the second piece, as well as the notification last week on the 6 million that was granted for the rural grant. So we're currently at 9.6 million in grants, and I should know in the next 2 weeks on the National Significant Federal Land and Tribal Projects. That grant application that I submitted was for 8.3 million. I should know on that one in like 2 weeks. And then the 24 million from the state.
I thought we already had that one, but am I wrong on that, or
We
do
had
we think
the-
we're getting it?
We're in the process of getting it. The rural one has been confirmed, the earmark has been confirmed, but they haven't confirmed on the National Significant Federal Land Tribal Projects yet, but they should be anytime now.
And then the governor included money in his budget as well. That's the 25 million?
Yes.
25 million was included in his budget, but it has to go through the legislature still. So that, we won't know about that for a couple months probably.
Yeah, till the middle of March.
Okay.
And that's the plan at this point is, as soon as these all clear, UDOT will take the money from these grants as well as the state funding. We will have a seat at the table in the design, the bid, selection of the contractor, and during the construction process, but UDOT will design it, bid it out, and manage the project. And when it's complete and the punch list done, then they'll hand it off to us and we'll maintain it.
And Nevada's okay with us taking the lead on this, right?
Yes, because so there's 10 miles that's in Nevada, which I've been working with Nevada BLM as well. They've been trying to get grants for that 10-mile portion. And then there's 33 miles that's within Utah and Tooele County. And that's what this is specifically towards. So the hope is that we can get the whole 43 miles done working with Nevada BLM, but that's still kind of part of the process. So.
Thank you, Jed. Appreciate it for your hard work.
Thank you.
Diligence on that. That brings us down to discussion on meeting schedule for 2023. Council, would you take a look at the handout sheet? And is there any concern? I hear,
Uh-huh.
okay. Chair recognizes, Hoffman.
Well, as I was looking at this, and I was talking with Andy and Allison earlier and Brittany. It shows on here that we are looking to start at 4 o'clock in July for budget discussions. And what was recommended is that possibly we get out our ideas earlier than even that for what the council is expecting as far as budget goes to our departments and department heads and elected officials and things like that. And then maybe we don't start at 4 o'clock until like September. As long as they have a good idea of what our expectations are, it might go a little bit smoother and faster, and we can meet a little bit later and enjoy more of the summer hours, longer summer days and stuff for everybody, if we potentially, as a council, are a little more diligent and get our expectations out to the departments a little bit earlier, if I'm saying that properly, Allison?
That's right.
And so that would be my recommendation, is that we look at doing that for us to have a discussion like in late May, early June, something like that, as far as what we want
So-
in the budget as a council and how we want the departments to do things. And then we can meet a little bit later and
So staying on the subject here, maybe move to September, start at 4 o'clock unless otherwise instructed.
As long as we do our part in notifying the departments what we're looking for and things like that. The department heads.
And I guess that.
And that would come up in probably a work meeting.
Right, so we could change the 4 o'clock in July and August to 5:30. And then just during one of the work meetings in June or July, you guys can get together and set your goals for the departments. We can get that out, and then we could start meeting at 4 o'clock in September.
Okay,
And then in September, I think we ought to look at every Tuesday we can, just like we did this year. And because there, it's only showing 4 o'clock on 2 days a week, but, I mean, two times a month, but we may wanna do it more frequently than that, as we did this year.
One other clarification, I know we've had in the last couple of years a meeting in Wendover. Is that something we want to continue to do this next year as well? We'd have to change the location on one of those in July or.
we did that in July. I think it was the first meeting in July. What do you think, Eric? That's your area.
I mean, I do think it's a good idea. I think it includes them. It is, requires a little travel time for us, but I think it is a good gesture for them.
So just so you know, Eric, a couple of things that they did, not only did we have a meeting there and conducted business, but we also saw where the futurity of the airport, they were talking about different contracts that they had out there, what they were improving on, the people that came out there and rented the buildings. So it gave an opportunity to have a visual of some of the things that they were operating on. So if that is of interest to the council, then we can continue that and maybe put that on our schedule currently.
Gonna do that first meeting in July. It's July 11th. Since we won't meet on the 4th, it'll be the second.
So July 11th?
Do
Hoffman?
Wendover.
I think that's fine at this point.
That's second Tuesday?
It'll be the second Tuesday,
Yeah.
correct. Okay.
At this point, that's fine.
Plan for that, and we can reach out to Wendover and.
Yeah.
Certainly have them
We
involved,
usually
yeah.
invite them to come.
Okay?
What are your guys' thoughts on doing that and starting 4 o'clock in September? and
I'm
doing
okay
it
with
every
that.
Tuesday instead.
Unless there's some other issue, then we can certainly do that, but I think we should plan and like you said, do our persistences and getting out our desires so that they can be forefront and budget can run smoothly, or
We
give
can always
Allison a
change-
bigger stick.
We can always adjust that as we need to.
Yeah.
So let's go. Is that your motion then? Do we have a motion? Let's
No,
go.
there's no motion here. We'll have to do it.
Oh, in the work meeting, but are we ready to move it to the next meeting?
Yep.
Move it on.
Okay.
Colin has a suggestion.
If I may, Kylie noticed the other day that our current county ordinance requires you to adopt your meeting schedule by ordinance. State law doesn't require that. The county's never done it that way. There's no intent to start doing it that way. I think how that came about is when we adopted the new government ordinance, we used Summit County as our model, and I gotta admit, I was new on the job and didn't know better, and I just let that slip in. So 2 weeks from tonight, you'll get an ordinance recommendation to delete that language, that you don't need to do it by ordinance, and we'll be asking you to do it not by ordinance tonight, and we'll catch you up in 2 weeks.
If we haven't been doing it that way, why does it matter?
You just continue to ignore it. It's probably better to fix it.
I understand.
Okay? And then that will bring us down to county council board assignments for 2023. So, I'm gonna look off Eric's, I didn't print mine off. If you're okay.
Yep, look right away.
Go ahead. So under, I'm just gonna read off, Mr. Wardle, and then we, again, no votes here, but as a part of the discussion. Let's see, he'll be the chair of the Desert Peak Special Service. On some of the boards that he's on is Waste Management, Radiation Control Board, Utah Test and Training Range. He has the Housing Authority and Fair Board, and the Fair Board's in red because that will go away, and I think the housing, we were up for discussion, and I think, Councilman Hoffman, were you interested in serving on that board?
I can or whatever.
Is your interest okay?
if Eric is interested in it, I'm happy to let him do it or whatever, so.
Okay. Eric, that's okay too, if you have interest in serving on that board. Housing Authority is, obviously for low income and other things that they do in that area. Council of Government, that's COG, and WFRC governing body. We have, go ahead, you had a comment?
Well, just about COG, there was some discussion that maybe we try and have COG be represented by only 2 county officials, since we've recently lost Erda and now we've lost Lake Point, and Lake Point should have a seat on COG. So maybe it's time for us to go down to 2 seats as well.
I don't know, that's probably,
But
how does that
that's-
work, Colin?
But that's gonna be a discussion for the COG board, I would assume.
It's in the interlocal agreement. The current situation with 3 seats is in the interlocal agreement, but you'll remember that we've been trying to get the interlocal agreement approved for over a year now. The county did it, Tooele City did it, I think Grantsville did it, maybe 1 or 2 of the other entities, but there are a large number that have not yet gotten around to approving that. So I think now's an ideal time. I would recommend that you have COG make the discussion and make the recommendation, and it's not too late to change it in the current renewal cycle, simply because people didn't sign off yet.
So the ones that didn't sign off, are they in Councilman Thomas's district?
I'm sure they are. No, I don't, I honestly don't know.
I'm
I
teasing.
turned it over to Kylie a long time ago and I haven't followed
I'm
up.
teasing.
You know, I'm not so sure that the county should have 3 seats on. You can say, well, we represent the whole county, all the population. I just don't think it's right we have 3 if we go to 2. I don't know why we don't go to 1.
Well,
I think we should
why would
kind of
we have
split
any?
I think we ought to keep 2, just because it seems like most of the money runs through the county for things like that, so.
And in the end, the decision on how they use their money still comes back to you all for a vote, so it does come to all of you.
Okay. Councilman Thomas, do you want to talk about your assignments? Any questions or comments on those?
Yeah, the one that I like every one of them that I'm on, and I'm glad to continue serving. I want to be respectful to our new councilman, Councilman Strongberg. Is there any ones that would fit his schedule and that he would like to be on, maybe pick up Tom's or anything?
Yeah.
But if there's anything on mine, I'm willing to share that you could say you could take on. I'm not so sure the Historic Preservation Board. I've been here 4 years and we've met once or twice. I'm not so sure there's a real need for that board. And so I think that's something we can scrub out and kind of say, is it needed, functional, or to have a purpose?
Yeah, we have to have that board.
We have to have that board? Okay.
Makes the state happy.
So I'm happy to stay on that board.
Because we want to make the
Taking up a lot of
state,
your time.
Yeah, it burns a lot of time, so I'm okay on that.
we want to
You'll
make the
keep that one, is that
keep
what
the
you're saying?
state happy.
Eric wants that one, no.
It's not like that was the ideal.
Good call, Eric, you're learning fast.
Okay, Councilman Hoffman?
I'm fine with mine and helping out wherever else or whatever, so making, adding new or taking some away based on what the board wants and other members want. The one that I guess I would like to stay on, if possible, the most would be, the UAC board. Just because I'm finally starting to get to know some people there and stuff like that. And I think that my flexibility is better than most of your guys for getting to some of the meetings that they have. Because I have an unlimited amount of vacation time if I want it with my other job.
Okay. Okay, and then this is mine. I think the other 2 down there is COG signed. When they talk about the WFRC transportation alternate, I'm an alternate on those. And then on the COG and EDC Utah. With that said, then
Chair?
Tom's,
Chair, can I ask a question?
yes.
So, I don't know if this is a proposal or what things have been, because you had been the liaison for my department, and it's actually under Tom Tripp's. If that's intentional, it's okay. If you want to get rid of us, it's okay. But I just want to understand whether that's what you meant to do or not.
That's one last joke he had. He changed it and sent it over.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a mistake.
I'll take whoever, you know, but I was happy with you. I mean, I'll take Eric, I mean, it's okay.
Say that now.
He's a splendid fellow, that's fine. But anyway, it's under Tom's, but it had been under yours before, so I just want to raise
Yeah.
that and so you guys know.
So, and I think we've talked, I talked with Scott, and he's gonna need to speak for himself on the 7 o'clock, so, depending on how we go in our business meeting, how we elect the leadership in our council with, chair and vice chair, will determine some of this.
Well, and with him not being here, we can just give him everything we don't want.
Give them the leftovers.
Teach him to be here, don't
This is Scott we're talking about, so it'll be tough to live
Absolutely.
with
He would
after
do
a
it to us, you
while.
guys know that, right? He's done it to us. Well, me in particular.
Okay, council, and we can talk about those in our next meeting also. There's, one item for closed session, and it is 6 o'clock, so I would suggest we, if there's a motion to be made,
6:35.
is it? 6:35. Okay, sorry, I think it can be done in 30 minutes. Allison, can we talk about that in 30 minutes? Yeah.
Can we do it before?
Yeah, so let's, I would suggest, council, or I can do this, make a motion to adjourn here, go into a closed session, and then we'll come back at 7 o'clock. Is anybody willing to make that move?
we? Hey, just question, are we gonna talk about Tom's assignment, what
Yes.
Eric's are gonna be yet? Or we're gonna wait till the business meeting?
Business meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So move.
I
Did you,
seconded it already. You made the
Okay.
motion, I seconded it.
thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.